Hi everyone, my name is Kevin Chu. I'm the Group Product Manager for Release Configure and Monitor. I'm here to give you a little product update on deployment. Organizations often state that delivering software quickly is at the heart of their DevOps transformation. Did you know that despite this, in the latest CD Foundation State of CD report, only 10% of those surveyed are elite performers in deployment frequency? Furthermore, in the same study, we found that nearly 2/3 of the companies surveyed take more than 1 week to deploy code to production. Lastly, 50% of those companies need more than a day to restore an unplanned outage. Things can be much better. We have a huge opportunity to make deployments easy and repeatable. Consider how deployment is working or not working in your organization today. By unlocking the ability to deploy, you really unlock your development team to do much more. As a quick aside, the metrics I referred to in the previous slides and in that study are 3 of the 4 key DORA metrics. DORA is the DevOps Research and Assessment. It's a research institution. They've determined that these 4 metrics are the best way to tell whether or not a team is performing and how successful a company is at doing DevOps. So with these metrics in mind, our vision for deployment is to enable your organization to be elite performer in DevOps by making the hardest part of DevOps deployment easy, flexible, and secure. For the rest of this presentation, I'm going to share a bit more with you how we aim to achieve this vision. First, I'm going to start by running through a quick refresher on what's available today to deploy with GitLab. Second, I'll share with you how we're shifting our strategy when it comes to deployments. Third, I'll highlight our investment themes in the space going forward. So to start, what are GitLab's deployment capabilities that are available today? First and foremost, it's of course the pipeline. You can create your customized pipeline definition for your deployment pipeline. You can take advantage of functionalities made available in containers, including the ones that are published by GitLab. You can, of course, include templates. You can use templates provided by others, including GitLab. You can even use GitLab's auto DevOps templates. You can also create multi-project pipeline deployments or use parent-child pipelines for deploying your mono-repo projects. And I've also seen a lot of customers use the centralized deployment project to have a central place to store templates that are used by other application development teams. Second, what's available are environments. You can associate deployments to environments by using the environments keyword. You can view environments and deployments, including past deployments as well as upcoming deployments. You can take action on the environment, such as doing a rollback or retrying a deployment. You can protect your environments to prevent unauthorized updates. Use deploy boards to check on the status or health of your deployments in Kubernetes. You can set deploy freeze windows, and you can also create review apps that are built on top of environments. We also have releases. A release in GitLab is just a snapshot of your coding time. When you create a release, you can automatically create release evidence, which can be used for compliance reasons. And you can also add release notes to Git tags or associate other useful data such as milestones, markdown description, and other sorts of assets. More recently, we put a lot more emphasis on infrastructure as code and GitOps. IAC first. GitLab now offers a GitLab managed Terraform state. This is really convenient for those of you that are using Terraform. Instead of having to manage another storage service to store your Terraform state, you can just do that with GitLab. GitLab also offers you the possibility of having an internal Terraform registry that you can share with your team to promote reuse. And lastly, you can see the output of Terraform plan directly in your merge request, making that really convenient as you apply various changes. Moving on to GitOps. What is GitOps, first of all? It is simply a way of implementing continuous deployment for cloud-native applications. The core idea here is really to have a Git repository that contains the declarative description of the desired state and having an automated process to make the actual environment match that desired state. Recently, we've introduced the Kubernetes agent to be that automated process. The agent is meant to be a secure integration between GitLab and your cluster. What you can do when configured is to monitor a repository that you tell it to monitor. And when you commit changes to that repository, the agent then will update your actual environment to reflect the state that's expressed in your repository. So this is what we refer to as a pull-based type deployment. If you don't want to switch over to pull-based type of deployment, instead want to kind of use the pipeline to push deployments out, you can still do that. Recently, we introduced a CI/CD tunnel that enables users to access Kubernetes clusters from GitLab CI/CD jobs, even if there's no network connectivity between GitLab runner and a cluster. This means that the runner does not have to be running in the same cluster. We believe this is a really powerful concept that can be really useful to a lot of customers. Last but not least, you can see the actual DORA metrics within GitLab without setting up any additional data integration. Currently, what we have are deployment frequencies and lead time available at the project and group level. In the future, we'll also introduce MTTR and change failure rate. So with these capabilities, we think that for most developers, including those working in a large organization, can successfully deploy with GitLab today. However, we also know that there is a lot of additional challenges to solve. One thing to highlight, the legacy of GitLab is that we have always been developer first. Organizations trying to coordinate deployments beyond the project boundary currently have to jump through a lot of hoops to get things working the way they want. Some of these capabilities are still disjointed and focus on individual developer needs rather than that of an organization. Lastly, it may not be easy, or at least super easy, to enable control and compliance across the entire organization. So to address these problems, we're targeting a new persona. Instead of targeting the developer, we're targeting Priyanka, the platform engineer. She's now our main persona that we want to solve problems for when it comes to deployment. Priyanka, she's responsible for setting up the platform that her company's development team used to ship and operate their application. We want to enable her to manage the increasing complexity that her organization is undergoing, yet enable her development teams to move fast when operating within the practices defined by her and her team. Why is this shift important? What Priyanka works on is very different from what individual developers and development teams work on. What Priyanka cares about is not just individual projects. She cares about doing things consistently in a secure, repeatable, and traceable way across the entire organization. It's easy to deploy projects individually. We've all done it. There's nothing to it really, but it's actually really, really difficult to deploy across all the projects in the organization in a coordinated or continuous fashion. So what are we going to do next with deployment? I want to share with you some of our investment themes going forward. First, we want to make deploying and operating Kubernetes easy. Some of the works that we have planned include the ability to prune resources. Nobody wants to be spending more than they have to. With the Kubernetes agents, we believe we can offer the ability to prune resources. We want to also support review apps with the Kubernetes agent. Lastly, we want to make managing user access to your cluster super easy by mapping GitLab users and projects to Kubernetes RBAC. Second, we want to make environments useful to the enterprise. There are currently a few problems with the GitLab environments. The most prominent one is environment is only available at the project level. But we also know that environments are often shared between projects. And the people that are responsible for managing the environments are also different sets of people typically than the ones that are responsible for the code. Within these shared environments, oftentimes we hear people want to promote from a lower tier, such as staging, to a higher tier, such as production. Having good access control for higher tier environments is really important to ensure that there's separation of duty between developers and operators. Lastly, we think it's possible eventually to potentially even connect infrastructure as code, so you don't have to take an additional step to create your environments. The third thing is we really want to create an opinionated deployment platform. We want to move away from simply suggesting to our users, hey, build your own deployment platform, to offering something that works out of the box. We think that releases and deployments should all be interconnected. Right now, they're not, but they should be. We understand that one of the fundamental problems with deployment is introducing change is risky. But when you introduce that change, it's not something that's individual, but it can have downstream impact. You can affect your neighbors. You can affect the entire environment. So you really want to know what's happening. So in order for you to have the knowledge or the data to tell you that your deployment is actually successful, you need to have monitoring. You need to have verification at the time of deployment that tells you not just about the health of your application, but the entire environment. Lastly, along the lines of opinion and deployment platform, we don't want you to have to stitch things together by setting up a project here, creating a bunch of templates there. We want this to be a seamless experience directly in the GitLab UI. The fourth investment theme is we're going to refocus on release orchestration. Some of the problems that we want to solve are enabling teams to sequence deployments and visualize the deployments as they happen. And we also want to add approval gates at the appropriate steps in the deployment flow so that the right approvers can approve and the deployment can just flow as they should. Lastly, we want to make sure deployment is traceable and secure. Anyone, anytime should be able to see and understand what is deployed, when it was deployed, and who did the deployment. The deployment data should be able to be exported for consumption outside of GitLab. And we want to be able to help teams, central teams, Priyanka, understand which deployments didn't meet the organizational standard so that they can be addressed and improved going forward. That's all the content I have. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your feedback. Cheers.